Okay, I am going to put together a little video to introduce the intrapersonal course, just so I can get out some basic ideas about the course for you, introduce myself, give you a chance to take a look at me and listen to me a little bit, since this is an online course. Intrapersonal communication, INTRA. Usually you hear about interpersonal communication, and that's pretty much the first thing people think about when they think about communication. I think the prototype is probably two people speaking to one another in person, face to face. Intra, INTRA, is about one person and what goes on within that person. So think of it as a psychological perspective on communication. What goes on within one person? So we can have two people talking to each other, but we're focusing on what's going on within these people, within each of these people. Well, what might be going on? I might have motives for speaking to you, or even I may not even be speaking to you. I just may be walking by and you take a look at me and you have some ideas. I've communicated something to you, if you want to use communication broadly. So what's going on in your head? You've interpreted the way I'm dressed, the way I look, the way I sound, the energy with which I move. I see something on the internet and it reminds me of something. My memory clicks in. I have fond feelings about this thing I remember, okay? Or I'm traumatized and I'm brought back to a time and a place that was very traumatic for me. So what I'm trying to say is intrapersonal is a cognitive perspective. It's looking inward, all the possible things that might be going on inside a person that are related to the process of communicating. I think probably the most obvious one would be anything that has to do with assigning meaning to what we experience, to interpreting. Anything that's going on in a person's mind. So that's what the course is about. It's an attempt to look inward. It's kind of odd in that most textbooks in communication talk about it, but don't go on to develop it very far. So this is a whole course on intrapersonal. My interest in intrapersonal comes from a background in graduate school dealing with language, dealing with psychology, dealing with cognition, most generally. So in this course, I want you to explore what's going on inside. We all carry around our own laboratory, so you can look in at yourself. You can catch yourself as you do things internally that you recognize as connected to communicating. So I ask you to keep a journal. Write down some of these things. Write down your reasoning, your thought processes, your internal reactions, your errors that you make, plans that you construct, interpretations, ambiguities, memories, so on. Keep a journal. You'll read about all of this in the documents for the course. And I ask that as you read the material for this course, which is all online, it's all built into the course. It's a book that I put together some years ago with a co-author, and all the chapters are made available to you online. Don't have to pay anything for it. And each chapter is written by another person. That was an edited book, and they deal with different issues. There are, unlimited number of issues you could look at with regard to interpersonal, just to get you thinking about these various pieces. And what I'm asking you to do is write position papers. As you read these chapters, I'm asking you to write 3 position papers to be graded. You can actually write 5, and I'll eliminate the 2 lowest grades. So if you get 3 A's, you don't have to write anymore if you don't want to. Position paper essentially is as you read the chapter, find an interesting idea that you want to take a position on. So you probably want to explain the idea that's in the chapter, but then take a position. Why is it that you agree or disagree with this idea? Or how do you see this idea as somehow inconsistent with other ideas maybe in that chapter? And those are submitted online through the assignment tool. If you look at the assignments, you'll see how. It's very important in starting this course that you read the announcement area, the steps to get started. Carefully, slowly go through all those steps. It will avoid confusion later. It's important to know I make mistakes, so send me an email saying, hey Lenny, I think there's supposed to be a forum set up, hasn't been set up. I forget. I'm doing so many different things, so help me out. And or if you're supposed to be graded on something and you don't have a grade, you have to check the grade book to make sure. If you don't have a grade, then it could be that somehow you goofed in getting the paper to me. So resend it, try again, or catch up with me, try to figure out what's going on. That's how we'll stay on track so that nobody gets lost. Okay? And don't forget, even though it's an online course, there's always a telephone. There's always, if you're near Portland, there's always, walking in and meeting and talking, sitting down at the computer together or just talking. Okay? Don't forget there's other channels. Certainly always a telephone. Okay? So that's basically what I'm trying to do in this course. For the final paper for the course, I ask you to select a topic and write a library research paper about that topic. I don't want you to do an empirical study. You don't have the time or, really to do that kind of thing. Right now, the appropriate level, I think, would be to read journal articles, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 journal articles very closely and report on what they have to say about some topic of your choosing that's cognitive. So that means you're not going to do a comprehensive review of everything that's ever been written about a cognitive issue. There's tons and tons written about these issues. So you just want to select some articles. So you're not going to come to the conclusion of everything we can say definitively. But what you can do is a very close reading of a small number of journal articles, primary research journal articles found in professional journals. You would find them in the library, whether you walk in the library or online, doesn't matter. Peer-reviewed, professional, scholarly journal articles. That's what you want to write about for your research paper. You may want to mix into it a little bit of, what you wrote about in your journal to get it going, to make it exciting and personal, but ultimately you want to write about research. So be exploratory, have fun with this stuff, open up a whole new area to look at. And I think you'll find very quickly, as most students do who look at this with me, that it's at least as important, if not more important, than the obvious stuff that we look at that's outside of ourselves. Okay? I guess for an introduction, that's about all I really want to say, or all I can think of saying at the moment. So see you online.